My cousin faked my death for donations when I called him out on it. He took to social media and accused me of faking cancer. Now I'm getting death threats. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin lymphoma when I was just 23 years old. I didn't tell anyone because the last thing I wanted was for anyone to treat me differently, but my balding gave me away. So when my cousin Victor came over and saw my entire wig fall off, I had to tell him the truth. At first he started laughing, but when I told him it wasn't a joke, his eyes welled up with tears. "I'm so sorry, cousin. I love you. We can make it through this." I hugged him back and he proceeded to pull my wig off again, saying he wanted to see the real me. This made me feel confident that he wouldn't treat me like I was made of glass. Well, the cancer started getting worse. I literally looked like one of those zombies from Plants vs. Zombies. So when Victor texted to confirm whether or not I could attend his birthday, I told him no, and proceeded to send him $300 as an apology and early birthday gift. My explanation? I had chemo booked for Saturday morning, and his party was that evening. Pretty solid, right? Well, Victor didn't think so. Isn't that a little selfish? It's like a 2-second procedure. I'm sure the time between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. will be enough time to recover. The treatment takes 3 hours and I'm going to be exhausted afterward. I don't want to drag the mood down at your party. I'm sorry, I responded. I thought it would end there, but it didn't. Victor told me that if I didn't want people to treat me differently for having cancer, then I shouldn't use it as an excuse to be a disappointing cousin. I didn't even reply to that because I knew if the conversation continued, I had a 100% chance of saying something I'd regret. As predicted, I ended up resting all day. I felt like an animal in hibernation or something, but I woke up to 37 missed calls and over 99 unanswered texts. As I scrolled through, I saw that everyone was texting me asking if I was okay because Victor had posted that I was in critical condition. Then Victor called. "I hope you're calling to thank me," he interrupted, his voice dripping with fakeness, but I couldn't confront him through the screen, so I settled for hanging up. That day was literally every nightmare I ever had come true. All of the people I disliked were reposting the anonymous GoFundMe on Instagram, captioned with the amount they had donated, and at least 1/3 of the texts were people sending me TikTok links to holistic healing nonsense. One was literally of a person saying they cured their stage 4 lung cancer from drinking celery juice, with a commission link in bio for the magic blender they used. All this made me want to isolate myself even more, especially from Victor. I didn't reply to anyone except my mom, who asked if I was doing okay. Honestly, that month without Victor and his drama was pretty peaceful. It gave me a lot less to think about and meant I could rest more. I also had more money because I didn't have to send people money all the time to compensate for not spending time with them. This also meant Victor had more attention and donations coming his way, because on his Instagram stories, he would update his followers every day on how I was supposedly doing and claim that he was the only family member I was willing to talk to. Of course, every story included a link to a charity I'd never heard of before that claimed to support all my daily expenses. We both knew it was a lie, but I didn't have the energy to deal with him. Honestly, my plan was to just let him do his thing until I got better. But when donations began to dwindle, he escalated his deception. At my expense, of course. He started taking old photos he had of me and using AI to edit them, making me look like I was on death's doorstep. Then he told everyone I had been misdiagnosed and actually had stage 4 lung cancer instead of Hodgkin lymphoma. He claimed that if I didn't get life-saving, very expensive surgery within the next week, I was guaranteed to die. That's when I finally decided that enough was enough. I told him if he didn't take it down, I would expose him for his past nonsense. He didn't respond, but he did take it down. Well, kind of. 3 days later, I woke up to see that he had simply shifted his strategy. Using fake screenshots and old photos of me, Victor told his 300,000 followers that I had faked having cancer entirely. That I did it all for the money and sympathy. The accusation hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs as I stared at my phone screen in disbelief. The irony was suffocating. He was accusing me of the exact thing he had been doing all along. My hands trembled as I clicked the link, dreading what I would find but knowing I needed to see it. I stared at my phone. The screen glowed with Victor's latest post. His perfectly filtered face beaming with fake sincerity as he exposed me to his followers. On his YouTube channel, he'd posted a 15-minute video titled "Cousin Faked Cancer for Money with Proof." The thumbnail showed a split screen of me, contrasting a healthy pre-diagnosis photo with a recent one where I looked exhausted after treatment, complete with glaring red circles and accusatory arrows pointing at my face. The view count already showed 47,000 and climbing by the minute. Each new view felt like another person believing his lies about me, another person judging me based on fabrications. I forced myself to watch a few minutes of the video, my heart pounding painfully in my chest as Victor spun his tale with practiced emotion. He claimed to have evidence that I was perfectly healthy, showing screenshots of text conversations that were either completely fabricated or taken wildly out of context. My phone buzzed incessantly with notifications, each one a fresh punch to the gut. People I hadn't spoken to since high school were suddenly reappearing in my life, some with sympathetic messages asking if I was okay, others with venom-laced accusations about what a disgusting person I was for pretending to have cancer. The irony was so thick I could choke on it. My cancer cells were probably having a good laugh at my expense. When my mom called, I grabbed the phone like a lifeline. She sounded confused and worried, explaining that relatives were calling her asking bizarre questions about whether I really had cancer. I broke down as I explained everything, my voice cracking as I detailed Victor's escalating betrayal, from exploiting my illness for attention to now claiming I'd fabricated the whole thing. My mom's voice hardened with protective fury, and she insisted on coming over immediately. While waiting for her, I forced myself to watch Victor's video, each second more excruciating than the last. He sat in his meticulously curated room, dabbing at dry eyes with tissues as he spun his tale of victimhood. The comment section was a cesspool of outrage, people calling for my head, promising to report me for fraud, some even suggesting jail time. I closed the app and flung my phone across the couch, wishing I could throw it into another dimension where Victor didn't exist. My mom arrived with comfort food and fierce determination radiating from every pore. She brought my favorite chicken soup from the deli near her house, still warm in its container, and a bag of soft cookies that wouldn't hurt my mouth sores. The familiar sense momentarily distracted me from the nightmare unfolding online. My mom's presence filled my small apartment with a sense of safety I desperately needed. We spent hours documenting everything, creating a timeline of Victor's lies, screenshots of his fake charity links, the AI-edited photos he'd posted, and his contradictory updates about me. My mom's reading glasses perched on her nose as she meticulously organized the evidence on her laptop, her fingers typing furiously as she created a document that laid out the whole sordid story. The afternoon light faded to evening as we worked, my energy waning but my resolve strengthening. I texted my oncologist, who responded almost immediately with an offer to provide a letter confirming my diagnosis without revealing private details. Dr. Rodriguez had been treating me for months, her calm competence a comfort during the scariest time of my life. Her quick response and willingness to help brought tears to my eyes, a small kindness that meant everything in that moment. A message from Madison, who'd been at Victor's birthday party, surprised me with its supportive tone. She mentioned that Victor's behavior at his party had seemed strange, how he'd initially told everyone I was skipping because I was being lazy and just wanted to watch TV, but then later was crying in the bathroom while dramatically revealing my cancer diagnosis to gain sympathy. Another piece of evidence showing his inconsistent storytelling. After posting, I checked my email to find a message from GoFundMe's team, informing me they were investigating the fundraiser Victor had created after someone reported it as potentially fraudulent. I forwarded them evidence that I hadn't authorized or created it, along with documentation showing Victor had been collecting donations through his personal payment accounts. The GoFundMe representative responded quickly, assuring me they took such matters seriously and would expedite their investigation. A text from Diana, an old college friend who'd been pushed out of our circle when Victor decided he disliked her, offered support and reminded me of his pattern of manipulative behavior. Diana had always seen through Victor's facade, which was probably why he'd worked so hard to exclude her from our friend group. Her message was simple but meaningful: I believe you. Let me know if you need anything. Her message triggered a crucial memory, the video from the day my wig fell off in front of Victor, which would prove he'd known about my cancer from the beginning. I remembered Diana had been the one to set up our shared cloud storage for group photos and videos years ago during college. My heart raced as I realized this could be the smoking gun. Diana still had access to our old shared photo album and quickly located the video, sending it to me within minutes. There it was, undeniable evidence of Victor's knowledge of my diagnosis months earlier, including him saying we'd get through it together and promising to support me. The video was slightly grainy, but the audio was crystal clear. Victor's voice saying, "I'm so sorry, cousin. I love you. We can make it through this," followed by him asking detailed questions about my treatment plan. I created a comprehensive response post with screenshots of Victor's contradictory statements and the video evidence, reaching people who had seen Victor's video and changing minds. Victor texted a threat about suing me for defamation, which I ignored completely, focusing instead on responding calmly to concerned messages from friends and family. His message was all caps and filled with misspellings, the digital equivalent of a temper tantrum. I showed it to my mom, who just shook her head and advised me to save it as further evidence of Victor's character. By evening, Victor had deleted his video, but the damage to his reputation was spreading like wildfire. Content creators were already analyzing the evidence, highlighting the inconsistencies in his story. One YouTuber with a significant following created a detailed breakdown of the timeline, pointing out how Victor's claims contradicted each other and the evidence I'd provided. The video ended with links to legitimate cancer charities and a warning about donation scams. Elena, one of Victor's closest friends, messaged me with an apology, explaining that Victor had told different versions of the story to different people. She mentioned donating to a legitimate cancer charity in my name, a small gesture that felt genuinely supportive amid the chaos. Elena's message was hesitant, clearly uncomfortable with reaching out but determined to do the right thing. She explained that Victor had been acting strangely for months, becoming increasingly obsessed with social media attention. The following days brought a strange mix of support and continued scrutiny. Some of Victor's most loyal followers still believed his version, sending hostile messages claiming I was an elaborate con artist. Others reached out with genuine concern, including several people who had been suspicious of Victor's constant fundraising posts. Marcus, a mutual acquaintance who worked at the same coffee shop Victor frequented, even mentioned that Victor had been bragging about his influence and how easy it was to get people to donate money. Dr. Rodriguez herself called later that day, her voice concerned as she asked about my stress levels and sleep quality. She reminded me that stress could impact my immune system, which was already compromised from treatment. The GoFundMe investigation concluded quickly. I provided information about Victor's personal payment accounts, where he'd been collecting additional donations, along with screenshots of his solicitations. The representative I spoke with sounded genuinely appalled at the situation, assuring me they were taking it very seriously. I consulted with Ms. Williams, a lawyer specializing in defamation cases. She explained I had a strong case for defamation, especially with the evidence of Victor knowingly making false statements that damaged my reputation. She also mentioned potential fraud charges related to the unauthorized fundraising. When I expressed hesitation about a lengthy legal battle while undergoing cancer treatment, Ms. Williams suggested sending a formal cease and desist letter as a first step. She understood my limited energy and outlined options that would protect my interests without requiring constant involvement. Victor's online presence had gone suspiciously quiet since I'd posted my evidence. His Instagram stories stopped, his YouTube channel went dark, and according to mutual friends, he'd made his Twitter account private. The silence felt ominous rather than reassuring. The absence of his constant posts was jarring after months of his daily updates about me. The quiet made me uneasy, like the stillness before a storm. 3 days after my consultation with Ms. Williams, I received a text from an unknown number. It was Victor's mother, asking if we could meet to discuss the unfortunate situation between me and her son. I showed the message to my mom, who immediately advised caution. We agreed to meet in a public place, a quiet cafe near my apartment. The cafe was one I frequented during my better days, with comfortable chairs and staff who knew me well enough to start preparing my usual herbal tea when they saw me coming. Victor's mother arrived alone, looking tired and considerably less polished than her son's carefully curated appearance. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore minimal makeup that couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes. She apologized immediately for Victor's behavior, explaining that she discovered what was happening when one of her colleagues showed her the video. She seemed genuinely horrified, especially about the fraudulent fundraising. She told me Victor had always struggled with truth-telling and attention-seeking, but this was beyond anything they'd seen before. They were getting him into therapy, and she wanted to make things right financially. She handed me an envelope containing a cashier's check, explaining it was the total amount Victor had collected through his personal accounts. The envelope felt heavy in my hands, weighted with more than just money. I was speechless, having expected excuses or denial rather than accountability. I told her I appreciated the gesture but was still considering legal options. She nodded, understanding completely, and said they would cooperate with whatever I decided. The afternoon sun streamed through the cafe windows, highlighting the genuine distress on her face as she spoke about her son's actions. As she was leaving, she paused and told me she was sorry about my cancer and wished me strength in my treatment. The sincerity in her voice brought unexpected tears to my eyes. It was the simple human acknowledgement I had wanted from the beginning, not performative sympathy or dramatic declarations, just quiet understanding. That evening, I received a formal email from Victor, clearly written under parental supervision or legal advice. He admitted to fabricating evidence against me and exploiting my genuine illness for personal gain. The email ended with a statement that he would accept whatever legal consequences came from his actions. The formal language couldn't disguise the forced nature of the apology, but it was something. Ms. Williams advised waiting to see if Victor's behavior matched his words before making any decisions about further legal action. Her cautious approach made sense. Words were easy, but actions would reveal Victor's true intentions. The public retraction appeared on Victor's accounts the next day. In a somber video without filters or dramatic music, he looked different, stripped of his usual confidence as he admitted to lying about me faking cancer and exploiting my genuine illness for attention and money. He apologized to me specifically and to everyone he'd misled, promising to refund any donations not already returned through GoFundMe. The video was brief, just under 2 minutes, but covered all the necessary points. The comments were a mix of shock, disappointment, and people tagging me to see my response. I didn't give one immediately, needing time to process everything. My apartment felt like a sanctuary that day, quiet and private while the online world buzzed with reactions to Victor's confession. The treatment center hummed with quiet activity. Nurses checking monitors, other patients reading or napping, the occasional soft conversation. The familiar sounds had become almost comforting over the months, a reminder that I wasn't fighting alone. The cold sensation of the medication entering my bloodstream contrasted with the warm blanket the nurse had placed over my legs. Madison visited me during treatment, bringing magazines and comfortable socks. She mentioned that Victor's friend group had fractured, with many distancing themselves from him after the truth emerged. Elena had reached out to several people who donated to Victor's fake fundraisers, connecting them with legitimate cancer charities instead. Even Diana, who'd helped me find the crucial video evidence, stopped by my apartment with homemade soup her grandmother had prepared. These small kindnesses meant more than the grand gestures Victor had performed for his audience. A week after Victor's public apology, I finally responded with a brief post, thanking everyone for their support and stating I was focusing on my health and treatment. I mentioned that while the situation with Victor was unfortunate, I was moving forward and appreciated privacy during this time. I didn't mention the legal aspects, as Ms. Williams and I had decided to accept Victor's public retraction and his mother's financial restitution rather than pursue further legal action, provided Victor maintained his distance and continued therapy. My mom thought I was being too lenient, but understood my desire to focus energy on healing rather than prolonged legal battles. She expressed her concerns during our weekly dinner at my apartment, her hands gesturing emphatically as she argued that Victor deserved harsher consequences. I explained that pursuing legal action would drain energy I needed for healing and that sometimes walking away was the stronger choice. Eventually, she nodded, respecting my decision, even if she didn't fully agree. The cancer journey continued with its ups and downs. Good days where I almost felt normal, terrible ones where even breathing seemed like too much effort. Through it all, I discovered who my real friends were, the ones who showed up consistently without making it about themselves. Madison became a regular visitor, bringing terrible jokes and good company. Elena occasionally joined her, having completely severed ties with Victor after learning the full extent of his deception. Even my formerly distant cousin Julia, who'd seen the whole drama unfold online, started checking in regularly with genuinely helpful care packages and zero unsolicited medical advice. 6 months later, during a follow-up scan that showed significant improvement in my condition, I received a handwritten letter from Victor. Unlike his forced public apology, this felt genuinely personal. He wrote about his ongoing therapy, his realization of how deeply his need for attention and validation had warped his perception of family relationships, and his understanding that some damage couldn't be undone. He didn't ask for forgiveness or expect a response, he simply acknowledged the pain he had caused and took full responsibility. But perhaps the most valuable lesson came from Victor's betrayal, the realization that sometimes people show you exactly who they are if you're willing to see it. I'm more cautious about sharing personal struggles on social media, but I no longer hide them from the people who matter. And when new acquaintances ask about the falling out between me and Victor, I simply say we grew apart, because some stories are mine alone to tell, when and if I choose to share them.